Listen. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. K-Dot, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing fantastic. I got my Arnold Palmer in the can. So rare you find them in the small cans, so about like a 20, about a case. Feeling good this morning. Feeling good. I don't know why, but I'm feeling pretty good.
Well, I'm looking forward to telling you why I'm feeling good, because we've got, first off, a great episode for you guys, but I've got some positive takes today. So I'm just going to give you guys a heads up there. I'm feeling positive. See how K-Dot's feeling. But we're going to begin with Antonio Gibson, who fumbled on one of his early carries in week one. What else is
Still
new?
feeling positive?
Yeah, well, hold on. We'll talk about why. We're going to begin with Antonio Gibson. A lot of news making the rounds about him being on special teams. He also ran some with the second team against the Panthers after that fumble. So we're going to talk about Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson Jr., of course. We're then going to talk about other takeaways we had from the game against the Carolina Panthers this past weekend. Then we look ahead, 4 p.m. Eastern time, Saturday, tomorrow against the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Get the opportunity to play against Patrick Mahomes and the boys. So that's going to be a golden opportunity for our Commanders. And then we conclude with the comment mailbag and the after the pod segment. But K-Dot, the big news, Antonio Gibson. So the second drive for our Commanders. First drive, 3 and out. Second drive, fumble. Okay. He's on his way down. Ball gets punched out. I think it's just 2 plays later that the Panthers score a touchdown. That's it. And next thing you know, it's 10-0. What were your thoughts on Antonio Gibson's performance? What were your thoughts on what happened after, with Ron Rivera going, you know what? Running back has not been decided. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing here. Running back has not been decided, and he's now returning kicks. He's now operating on special teams aside from kick returns. He's blocking. Like, what did you make of all that?
Well, I was live tweeting like the first half to a certain degree, just trying to get comfortable with it. Nobody was paying attention to what I was doing because nobody really follows me on Twitter yet. Haven't built that audience. That
was your time to plug, by the way.
I'm trying to get more comfortable. It was like, all right. And then I started, there was some back and forth with like kind of Eric Bickles thing and ref the district stuff, but whatever. So just about Gibby.
Just about Gibby. We'll get to the rest after.
Supremely frustrating, as it has been since he's gotten here. And I actually went back and looked at I rewatched the pod that we had as far as when we drafted Brian Robinson. Mm-hmm. And I went on my tangent as far as my issues with Gibby. And Ron Rivera echoed all those statements in the post game press conference. Look, the fumbling's one thing. And I know everybody has the stat line as far as like how many times Adrian Peterson fumbled in his first 2 years in the season, and all these other guys. Antonio Gibson is not Adrian Peterson. I don't think you don't get that twisted. He's talented as hell, and the frustration comes with you're 220 pounds. You need to run like a running back that weighs 220 something pounds. There's all this happy feet nonsense and not hitting the hole, which was the main thing that we saw when Brian Robinson then came into the game, where everybody was like, oh shit, yep, that's over for Gibby. He hit the hole and went like a running back's supposed to do. You don't need to do all this happy feet bullshit. Just take what the defense is giving you, hit the hole and go. And he doesn't do this. There's this indecisiveness that he has where, and yeah, I get it. He didn't play a lot of pure running back in college. He was more wide receiver in Memphis, right? But I think that's been the thing that we've been giving him a lot of rope in the first couple of years, which is like, hey, he's still getting used to position, this, that, and the other, but we're not seeing the progression we really need to see. He is talented as all get out. His skill set as far as being able to catch out of the backfield and run the football. Yeah, you see his stats over the last 2 seasons where all of us are fine with what he's been able to do and accomplish, but it could be so much more. And what it does is that without that consistency, of making sure that, like, all right, we know we're going to get at least 3 to 4 yards in this play. It's hard to rely on him. It's extremely hard to rely on him and getting a game flow. And that's where anytime that there's a more traditional running back there, they look like they're just taking it and running with it. And he's got to figure it out. I'm not willing to give up on Antonio Gibson just yet. He's, like I said, he's extremely talented. But maybe with Ron Rivera putting him with the second team, I know some of these coaches, that's like old school mentalities with new way of doing things, light a fire under you. If you want to start, you better be doing better. So look, we're putting you with the second team. You better show that you're better than anybody else on this field right now, sir. And if you don't, night-night?
Okay, I wouldn't go as far as to say night-night. And I think
night-night as far as the starting position.
Okay, fair enough. Understood. I'm not going to... You know what? I saw that fumble, and of course, in the moment, I'm frustrated, right? I'm like, come on. Like, it's this all over again. If you look at running backs with over 200 carries last season, he leads the league in fumbles. He had 6, okay? He averaged 16 attempts a game, 6 fumbles. I mean, it's rough, right? But then, I took a moment, and, it takes some time, because when you're in the moment, you're just like, fuck, like, why is that happening? Like, now the defense is in a bad position. Now we're down 10-0 to Carolina. They don't even know who their starting QB is. This is insanely frustrating. And then you let time sit and you go, first off, it's preseason, right? So thankfully, this didn't really count for anything. The result doesn't. Well, what did the rest look like? Well, this was, to me, and we're going to look back at this as a supreme blessing for Antonio Gibson and for this team. Because let's look at Antonio Gibson in college. He had 1 year of production. Okay. So it was one true year where he was like the guy at Memphis. He had 32 catches. He had 31 carries. Okay. Next thing you know, I just told you he had over 200 carries last season. Like, that's what we suddenly turned him into this bell cow. So for him to fumble, no, he shouldn't be, but also you kind of get it. Like, he wasn't ever truly just a running back. And we've asked this man to be just a running back. We've talked about with Scott Turner how we desperately want him to get Antonio Gibson more involved in the passing game. Mm-hmm. Well, now we are reframing Antonio Gibson to be this Swiss Army knife that we sort of want Curtis Samuel to be. Well, guess what? Curtis isn't always on the field. I'm glad to have seen him week 1 in preseason and even, get a catch. But like, this is, I think, important for everybody to go, hey, Antonio Gibson is not a pure running back. He did well, all things considered, these last 2 years. He was doing something he was never asked to do, ever. And now we have a guy in Brian Robinson Jr. who, first off, shout out Rick Doc Walker, a breath of fresh air on that broadcast. I loved hearing him. We're getting back to our roots, ground and pound. Brian Robinson Jr. is a bell cow running back if you need him to be one. He's running between the tackles. He is impossible to bring down one-on-one. It took 2 or 3 different Panthers each time to bring him down. Like, this, to me, is that blessing of, okay, we saw a guy running angry in Brian Robinson Jr., and now Antonio Gibson can maybe go back to what he did best. There's no shame in it. If he's returning kicks, that's a weapon right there. If Jahan Dotson, the reports he's returning punts, is doing that, well, now your playmakers are getting the ball in space. And that, to me, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying that. There's we want the idea of having all these guys that are extremely versatile. And what I think the thing that screamed out to me was they actually used Brian Robinson and receiving out of the backfield, which I didn't know that was a big part of his skill set. I thought he was going to be, and he looked really, I mean, once again, first preseason game.
Of course.
Very short. But the idea that they were still getting him out there to run, it almost felt like, can you do what we've asked Antonio to do, like last year, as far as being the bell cow, but being able to do everything? And Brian's like, I'm up for it. But the idea of you having Antonio Gibson that can catch the ball, run the ball, Brian Robinson catch the ball, run the ball, J.D. McKissick, one of the best receiving backs in the league, Curtis Samuel, who can step in the backfield as you saw him do at Carolina when healthy, and move all over. The versatility that it brings on offense is huge. That being said, if Antonio is going to get the ball in these short bursts and not as many carries, we need to make sure that in those limited times you do get the carry, we ain't got to worry about you turning over the fucking football. And number two, if you're going to do this thing as far as being the Swiss Army knife, I need to see that you excel at certain things. Like, you got to be known for at least one thing and not. I get what Jack of many trades, master of none. Like, there's there's an element of if you're not faster or receiving better than J.D. McKissick, if you can't run between the tackles anywhere near as good as Brian Robinson, you're kind of phasing yourself out a little bit. To me, anyway. I mean,
I understand what you're saying there. So
that's my thing. He's talented as hell, but my thing has always been your body, your physicality. You're 220 something pounds. You need to be able to run between the tackles, just from a physics standpoint.
I think we have seen some of that progression over the last couple of years. And I do continue to harp on the fact that he, again, was being asked to do something that how many people have been asked to do what he's been asked to do?
No. It's not about a fairness thing. It's not about, hey, there's going to be a learning curve. It's none of that. We're all rooting for Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, of course.
Like, it was not like a throwing under the bus sort of thing. It is a, hey, I'd love for you to find a spot on this roster. If that means kick returning, punt returning, to give you that versatility to do that thing, cool. I'd love for you to be here on this team. But if we're looking for what it is we've asked you to do last year or the year before, it almost seems as though we're saying, all right, we're just not going to pursue this road right now with you. And if that's the case, okay, his contract's up in what, 2 years?
Right.
Are you looking to do a re-sign? Like, or are you like that? That's where I'm looking at as far as Antonio's progression. Yeah, is it where it is that he's gonna? What is it we're gonna ask of him this season?
I think we almost asked him to. So, did you like him more as rookie year or sophomore year?
Actually, I preferred rookie, but
you preferred rookie. Okay,
I think he had an explosiveness in his rookie year when he got the ball that I saw him thinking too much last year.
Okay, well, he was also probably exhausted last year. There was 258 carries last year versus 170 his rookie year. Okay, that's almost 100 extra. Okay, just those are just carries, right? So if you lighten his load a little bit, all of a sudden the Brian Robinson Jr. pick made so much sense to me as we're watching more. And you talked about that digression, talking about Antonio Gibson when we did that draft episode. You know, hey, he can't hold on to it. Well, now we're seeing all of it. We go, oh my goodness, thank goodness. We have a guy that can get you 3-4 yards on 3rd and short. We have a guy that can get you 3-4 yards on 1st and 10 if we choose to run. So it takes pressure off of Gibson. It turns more into a committee. We're not going to be one of those teams with a Jonathan Taylor, with a Najee Harris, with a Joe Mixon, where it's just the one guy. But so many other teams in the league have multiple guys. We also have J.D. McKissick, like you said. I think this works out really, really well because Gibson can now be fresher for the things he did best in college, which was returning kicks. If that's not just a punishment thing, that's actually like a, hey, what if we just went back to what Gibson did best in college? Let's try that. I think that's actually a good idea. I don't think it's a punishment. I think it's much more Robinson showed us something here. And
it feels
maybe
as though
it
you're
now
defending
it.
It feels as though it seems as though you're coming from a spot where you feel as though you have to defend Antonio Gibson.
Well, it's not even, I don't even think of it as defending him. I think of it as what did he do well? What got him drafted? And can we continue to make that happen for him at the professional level?
What got him drafted? Yes. What got him drafted was it's a wide receiver that's not fast enough to be a wide receiver.
No, hold on.
Hang on. That doesn't have it to be a full-time wide receiver. But he's 6 foot, 1-2, and 225 pounds. You're a running back, and we're going to try to get you a running back and make you receive out of the backfield. I'm just saying that particular experiment right now doesn't look like it's going to. The full trajectory doesn't seem as though it's happening.
Do you really think the thought was he wasn't fast enough?
It wasn't that he was going to be a wide receiver.
Do you know what his 40 time was though?
It wasn't that he was going to be a wide receiver.
It was a 4.39, just for the record. It was
no one was looking at Antonio Gibson to be a wide receiver.
They didn't know what he was, right? We chose running back.
Right.
When we drafted him, we chose running back. I think he is much more
Does he receive out of the backfield anywhere near as good as J.D. McKissick?
Don't you think that could be coaching potentially?
I'm not. I'm
because we were using him again.
Stop. It's like you're a fucking defense attorney for this dude. Look, chill out. We're not attacking Antonio.
I know
I'm saying that whatever was asked of him the last 2 seasons, we're in year 3.
Yes.
Get it? Preseason game 1.
Mm-hmm.
The entire point is whatever we've been asking him to do, it's not working out in the way that we need it to. Does that mean it needs to change? Probably.
Right.
Kick return, cool. Line him up on the outside more, cool. But to ask him to do what we've been asking him to do the last 2 seasons, it looks like that experiment is coming to a close. What it means going future-wise, cool. But the idea, when I say night-night, it's not, you suck, Antonio, get the fuck off the field.
I know you're not saying that.
Right, it's, hey, if there's a starting running back for us, it might look like more of a Brian Robinson than it does an Antonio Gibson, as much as he's going to be more of a, we got to pick our spots, more of a gadget guy, more of a getting him involved in the offense in a lot of weird, crazy ways. Kind of like what we've been doing with J.D. McKissick the last couple seasons.
Right.
Maybe that's where we go. Maybe he's more of the Curtis Samuel role that Curtis played in Carolina compared to what it is, like a Deebo Samuel type. Maybe. But what I'm saying is the runway of, hey, we have this experiment we really want it to work out, is looking less and less likely that it's going to work out the way we thought the last season.
Sure, I agree with that. I just want to take that step back and say at the very beginning when I called it a supreme blessing, it's because had Antonio Gibson not fumbled, and maybe he didn't run very effectively and Brian Robinson did, we still don't have this talk. He's not returning kicks in practice. He's not doing this stuff. It takes sometimes...
no, I disagree.
Okay.
The fumble might have been the thing for a lot of people. The fumbling to me is not the primary issue in Antonio Gibson. It never has been to me. Like you can run back the numbers as far as the last 2 seasons and fumbles, and everybody has that list as far as like Adrian Peterson, a bunch of other guys that are fairly good running backs, and he's got like half the amount of fumbles that some of those dudes have got. Less carries too, but half the fumbles. My thing is your indecisiveness in the hole. He's not running like a running back.
That reflects, 4 yards a carry. That's not good enough.
Right. So that's my thing, is like when you see the difference. I thought he was losing the position as soon as I saw what Brian Robinson did with the ball in his hand, running between the tackles. Is like what I'm seeing with that, I'm like, okay, shit. Even J.D. McKissick looks better between the tackles than Antonio Gibson sometimes, because he at least makes the decision.
All I'm saying is that time and time again, you will see coaching staffs, and this happens in every sport. Okay. This happens everywhere. They have their guys, they have this thing, they just have trust and it's built in, and it takes a lot for it to turn over. This turnover, I think forced the coaching staff to go, let's reframe who we have here, which I think is a good thing. That's all I'm saying.
Disagreeing with you.
Yeah. We're saying the same thing. We're just coming from different angles.
The last thing I'll say about Gibby, his speed, which you talk about as far as his 40 time. Yeah. His ability to catch, at least coming out of college, and his size, he should be the best running back on this team. Like that to me, he has the skill set. Like he has a certain amount of skill set to me that speaks on this dude could be something special. I don't know what it is. That's the chasm between that happening. I'm rooting for him, and I'm still hoping that he gets that light turned on. I don't know if they need to bring in some other former running backs to help coach him, whatever. But there's a disconnect happening. Saquon Barkley was kind of guilty of this, what was it, year before last, where the indecisiveness in your running has made it to where now you're not being a running back anymore.
I think for Saquon, that was much more conditioning of a very, very poor offensive line, and he didn't trust the holes he saw because he probably thought they were disappearing. That
regardless, but that's the thing. The mental aspect as a running back is you gotta go. Like there's not that time to sit and think. I even criticize it to a certain degree. It's almost what I was criticizing Patrick Mahomes for last season, or at least the last 2 seasons early. Stop looking for the home run every fucking time.
I mean, you're talking about an all-pro both years.
I get it, but I'm saying that the same thing with Mahomes is that early on in the season, you're looking at you like, all right, these stats are not where that is. They look to be in like cover 2 is getting to him. It's because you're holding on the football so long, looking for the home run, that you're not just taking what the defense is giving you. The best players are the ones that can realize, I don't need it all in one play.
So let's before we move on to the other takeaways of week 1, which will include Brian Robinson chat, it will. How would you, just based off of this one preseason game, based off of the 2 years you've seen, and based on this conversation, how would you use Antonio Gibson moving forward? Let's say it's regular season week 1 coming up this week. Okay, how would you use him?
I'm splitting them all over the backfield and having them like going in the motion out wide. I want them back around as far as maybe some reverses. I want them all over the field. If right now, like that's where I think just let his athletic ability do something. I'm gonna give him those opportunities to see whether or not we can get there from. And that's unless something changes in these next preseason games, it makes me believe I can trust him between the tackles.
Yeah, I would alternate series with Brian Robinson. At the same time, you don't want Brian Robinson to take an entire load week 1. I don't think. Right. I want to ease him into NFL running back status as well. So it's going to be, for me, maybe the very first series goes to Gibson and the second series goes to Brian Robinson and vice versa. He still has that seniority. So you can begin with Gibson, and if he's running hot, continue. But it's okay to immediately switch over to Brian Robinson if things aren't going very well. So I'm seeing a committee. I'm seeing a full-blown committee here as we continue to figure out how to use Gibson. And I would also use him on kick returns because I do believe there's a comfort zone there with him, and it makes us much more dynamic on special teams. Okay. You want to get that guy the ball in his hands. And I think doing it in the kick return game, which is what he did in college as well, more power to him, more power to us.
I'm looking to see how many 100-yard games he has.
You have that, or you're looking?
I have it now.
Yeah. All right, give it to us.
Didn't take that long to count him.
How many does he have?
Four.
Okay. Just last season or overall?
Overall, his entire career in the NFL, he has 400-yard rushing.
Okay.
Yards. He has a lot. He has like 1, 2, 3 in which he ends in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
With 4. And there's so many of these games. There's like 10 carries, 15 carries, so less than 50.
Because see, here's the thing: if Scott Turner is going to end up using Curtis Samuel in the backfield sometimes, right? Like we talk about the Carolina times, right? Well, Gibson can do that. So it's nice to know now if Curtis Samuel gets hurt, which I'll be honest, I don't, as a fan, have faith in him to stay on the field for all 17 games here until he proves it. Well, now Gibson can maybe do that.
Unless we broke Gibby.
Unless we broke Gibby.
Look, I mean, that's what I'm saying is like he doesn't look his natural catching the ball in the backfield. Like he just doesn't. And he doesn't look like that's the thing where he doesn't look like he's doing anything naturally. It looks like there's too much thinking happening with everything he's doing on the football field. It's so frustrating.
I'm expecting a bit of a mental release with fewer carries and recontextualizing. That's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm talking about blessing.
I'm playing with the second team. Oh my God, I'm feeling it. My job's on the line. Holy shit.
I think that's overstated when people are suddenly playing on the second team. Antonio Gibson is a very important part of this roster. I want to make that very clear. In my estimation, he's a very, very important part of this. It's just been one preseason game, and I think a lighter load carrying the ball and getting him more receptions in open space, you may see a guy. It's almost like going to a new team and all of a sudden you flourish. Like that can happen even within this team.
I'm really hopeful.
All right. So let's talk. We talked plenty about Gibson. Let's talk about other preseason week 1 takeaways. I have 3 that come to mind. I think we're going to overlap on at least 2 of them is my guess. But Kate,
fire away. I want to start with you. Fire away.
Well, I'll give you my 3 as like a bullet list.
Okay.
And then we can discuss them and we'll discuss yours as well. So number 1, Brian Robinson Jr. looked fantastic.
Job. No,
we were just talking about that. I saw your tweet. Don't worry, I follow you. I saw your tweet. He's already got the job after 1 quarter. You got to follow K-Dot. I'm going to drop his Twitter over here in the description below. Now, Brian Robinson Jr. ran between the tackles. He was difficult to bring down, and he brought energy to the offense when it looked extremely dull. Okay. Mm-hmm. Those first 2 drives, I was like, oh boy, this doesn't look very good. And then he comes in. Next thing you know, the offense is moving. Carson looks more confident. He's getting more time. McLaurin gets the ball. We start to look like a competent offense. So kudos in game 1 preseason to Brian Robinson Jr.
Against the Panthers.
That's number one. I said bullet list. I'm actually explaining all of them. Number 2, Jamin Davis looked good. He actually looked very, very good. He didn't look lost in coverage. He actually made a couple nice tackles, and he was getting engaged in blocks. He was coming off of blocks. I was very happy with what I saw. Logan Paulson, who's now an analyst for the team, and was actually on the broadcast. He had a bit of a breakdown on Jamin Davis and said, hey, he looks good. Jamin Davis, what am I trying to say here? He gave a press conference and they asked him, what are your aspirations for this year? He wants to be an all-pro. So in terms of like what he wants to do, he wants to be there. And he even said he feels more like himself this year and he feels a lot more comfortable. So great signs coming from Jamin Davis. And that was one of the big things we were talking about for training camp and for preseason. So very encouraging first game for Jamin Davis there. Lastly, Sam Howell. We said it would be fun if he played well. I thought he did play well. I know 9 of 16, you look at that and you're like, that's just over 50%. I'm not really looking at that. I'm looking more at how does the ball look when it's out of his hands? Is he making proper reads? And there was enough there to go, hey, this guy could be pretty fun. And I enjoyed his performance. So those are my 3 things. What about you, K-Dot?
Yeah, so I kind of just want to take your 3 and criticize them all. I'm joking.
Go for it. It's district divided, baby.
Yeah, let's do well, maybe I should do that. I don't disagree with anything you said. Brian Robinson looked like a breath of fresh air when it comes to the offense and the way it was working. Mm-hmm. The big thing was having him actually give 2 receptions, which I wasn't expecting that from him. But maybe I just didn't know enough about his college career. Maybe he was receiving more than that. Jamin Davis looked good, looked a lot better than he has looked, in the sense if he didn't look lost out there. The takeaway that I got on the defense, and I know it got better as the game went on, which was that those third downs looked like they're carrying over from last year. And that, to me, was the Baker Mayfield being able to drive down the field and convert. I think that first drive was like 3 or 4 third downs. Mm-hmm. Get off the field. Like that to me is like that. If that's once again, preseason 1, this might all change by the time we're playing an Arrowhead, right? But that to me was concerning on the defensive side. We've got to get off the field. And that's the thing that and their criticism go all around as far as the pass rush not getting there when it needed to. That
we'll push back there, but go ahead, continue.
Look, what I'm saying is the combination of all these things allow you to convert on third down. Pass rush not getting there when it needs to, breakdown in coverage as far as especially in that mid-level. The combination of those things allow these guys to convert on third down. And not to mention at the end of the game, as far as the penalties at the very end just looked extremely undisciplined. I know as far as not caring as far as us winning or losing these preseason games, the fucking preseason games, remember Osaka. But I didn't like seeing that. It just looked undisciplined and messy at the end of the game. And Sam Howell, the arm is there. But people thinking he's the second coming. This is some cold.
No. And just to be clear, I'm not calling him the second coming. Just saying I enjoyed the performance. It
was great. And that arm that we heard about is there.
Yeah.
And that was fun to see. And hopefully he gets to sit and learn and develop. And maybe as we're seeing him each time that we do see him, it's an added improvement. And holy shit. Also, it was good to see between that Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell, you can absolutely tell there's a difference in arm.
There is a huge difference. And it's nothing short of Ashburn syndrome to say that there's a controversy or there should be a competition between Howell and Wentz. It's absurd. Okay.
Absolutely. Carson
Wentz is the clear-cut number 1 guy. If you want to make the argument about number 2 and number 3, because we just talked about the difference between Heineke and watching Heineke, I was like, wow, we won 7 games last year. And I love the guy. You know, I think kudos to the squad for finding ways to win. And kudos to Heineke for getting hot for a little bit in the middle of the season against some really good opposing quarterbacks and beating them. I mean, he got to beat Tom Brady. He got to beat Russell Wilson. He got to beat Derek Carr. Great for him. Great for the team. I wanted to push back on the pass rush comment because I ended up rewatching that first series and second series and third series, the first 3 series. Mm-hmm. Number 1, God bless Jonathan Allen for the rest of life, because whenever he's got a double team, he's still finding a way to get through, and he allows Deron Payne to go one-on-one. Deron Payne, I think, needs to do a bit of a better job at times of winning that one-on-one, and he did win quite a bit. Just to be clear, he did win quite a bit. Montez Sweat, I think also did a good job. James Smith-Williams looked a bit winded. In fact, there was a moment in the broadcast in the first series where he's asking for a sub after 4 plays. I don't know if that's normal, because this is the first time I'm really keying in on the defensive line. They were getting home, Kate. And the linebackers looked okay too, between Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis. I know it's hard to believe. The secondary looks lost. The secondary, there was 1 third down in particular where Danny Johnson's hips were just in the completely wrong set position. And he got turned like that. It took a second. So no pass rush is going to get there on time. 1 second, no pass rush. If they're open that fast, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. The line actually looked pretty good. It was much more the secondary on 2nd and 9 playing 10 yards off. What's that about? I would love to see us with the defensive line that we have be a bit more aggressive, especially in preseason. Get up on them and let's see if we can actually man up against these guys. That's what I want to see. And that's a bit of a preview for the week 2 stuff. Man up as in like just get tight play on the line, play man. Yeah, try it because that's what the preseason is about to me, is experimenting. What works, what doesn't, who looks comfortable in what. It's all information gathering. That's what's going on. And to play conservatively 10 yards off the line on a 2nd and 9, it turns into a 3rd and 3. Well, yeah, I would expect most teams to be able to convert a 3rd and 3, especially with the secondary as lost as ours.
What I was saying as far as the combination of they work, all right. Defense has to work together, right?
Absolutely.
In the sense of, especially early last year, we saw secondary was still trying to get their shit together. Defensive line playing undisciplined, but trying to get the pass rush there. They wouldn't get home, and the secondary was letting all kinds of shit fucking fly. Especially from what I'm saying, as far as that mid-level, right? That area where you're gonna pass for 6-7 yards, maybe 10 yards, get the first down, or if you're close, you can run it in for a first down because it's a missed tackle and some shit. It felt as though there was a continuation of that from what I was seeing last year in this particular game. The idea, I understand not wanting to blame the defensive line as far as, because, I mean, if you get there in 1 second and somebody's fucking wide open, it is what can you do at that particular
No
point,
pass
right?
rush. Not even Aaron Donald and the boys are getting there in 1 second.
I don't put it past Aaron Donald. Right.
I mean, it's not happening. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. Right.
I get it. I understand. And I understand that there's going to be that combination of everything in there. And as far as the secondary play compared to all I saw, and you're right, I probably need to go back and look at it again. It's very hard for me to rewatch preseason game number 1. It's the one I never want to go back to, right? It's way too early. It's just, I'll probably rewatch this Chiefs game like twice. But yeah, you're probably right. We ain't get home. And the idea that you have the defensive line is studded as they are. If we're not getting home because maybe the secondary is not doing whatever their job is, it still stands, right? Like whatever needs to happen on defense to get these guys to play in a way cohesively as a unit. They got better as the game went on, but as the starters are starting to leave. So
I just want to say, so the 3 third downs that they converted, they may have converted 4, but I wanted
to see them. I was trying to figure out
first
exactly
one. So
play.
Right. So the first one was, I think, a 3rd and 3 or something like that. And it was a crossing route, and Cole Holcomb and I can't remember who else got lost. And one of their guys just got wide open and just turned upfield. And actually Jamin Davis got off of Chuba Hubbard and made the tackle. So that was an example of Jamin Davis saving us from what could have been an enormous play. It was still about 20 yards on a 3rd and 3, but the crossing route we did not handle well at all. We ran into each other. Then the Sam Darnold touchdown, we actually more or less got home. We were extremely close, and he threw it off his back foot. Terrific throw, fair play. They ran a pick play, and we had 2 of our guys in the secondary run into each other. And then next thing you know, Rashard Higgins is wide open. So I'm looking at these and I'm going, defensive line was right there. Baker Mayfield waited till the last second, split second. Sam Darnold waited till the last split second. The secondary needs to help a whole lot more. We talk about that unit. I think D-line was doing well. I think linebackers were fine. That secondary, they need to figure it out. They really, really need to figure it out because they look lost. That's going to fall on Chris Harris, secondary coach, and that's certainly falling on Del Rio, who's the umbrella over everybody.
No, you're right.
Mayfield got hit 2 out of those 3 third downs he threw.
Yeah, 3rd and 3 on the first drive.
He got hit on that one.
Pass short, middle, Smith.
Yep.
19-yard game.
Right. Jamin Davis on the tackle.
And McCain. And then 3rd and 3 again.
That was a handoff.
Hubbard.
Yep.
Handoff, got the 5 yards.
Yep.
Then another pass short, Smith, 15 yards.
And Mayfield got hit on that one too.
Mm-hmm. And then he's still in there.
The third one you mentioned with the Smith 15 yards, that's where Danny Johnson got turned. Yeah, that's where Danny Johnson was just facing the wrong way, and the dude was open in half a second, and we still got there.
No, you're right. I'm gonna defer. I'm gonna absolutely defer to you because I did not go back.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about week 2. And again, golden opportunity. We're playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. We're playing against Patrick Mahomes, one of the best offenses. Yes, Tyreek Hill is gone, but it is a great chance for us to be able to play against a really, really good offense for our defensive guys who admittedly as a unit, as a collective, struggled a bit. So K-Dot, what are you looking for here, both on that defensive side of the ball, which we keyed in on in the last segment, as well as on the offensive side of the ball, maybe even on special teams? What are you looking to see?
I'll start with the defense. Just so while I wasn't necessarily blaming the defensive line as much as I need to see us get home.
Okay. What does that mean?
According to you, and I'm trusting what you're saying, and this all tries out. The secondary needs to play better. Cool. I don't give a fuck. Get home. There's too much talent, and I gotta keep watching fucking Tim Settle videos and him in Buffalo wrecking shit.
Yeah.
Get home.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Get home. Like the criticism for Deron Payne once again, because apparently the secondary is a lot more to blame than the defensive line. Saying gonna call anybody out. Payne. Would I prefer Ioannidis and Settle? Maybe, but just saying, get home. Defensively, get home. We got to wreck shit. Get home. Secondary needs to play better. Cordami, great. On offense, I want to see Gibson do something. It's like poke him with a stick. Do something. Show us something. Whether it be in the kickoff, whether it be in the kick return game, which maybe he gets some snaps there. I'm really excited about the prospects of that. I just want to see Gibson do something. And number 2, I want to see Carson Wentz start off stronger than he did in this last game. I need the first drive to amount to something. That I want to see us get there and have the energy high early. I want to see a script actually work out. Too often these Scott Turner ran offenses do. It's like they got to kind of catch it.
Mm-hmm.
Give me something. Show me that you prepared for this fucking game, and you have the entire roster. Like you know what you're doing the first time around. I need to see something from an energy level early on offense. And Jahan Dotson, I'd like to see him get more involved. That's it.
Okay. So defensively, you deferred to me. I'm going to agree with you deferring to me. The secondary has to play a lot better. I want to see them play more aggressively. I want to see, so maybe that's more coaching. I want to see the coaching staff mix it up with them. I don't like how conservatively we're playing, because if you think about how well our defensive line got to Mayfield, got to Darnold in those first couple drives, well, then let's support them by not giving the offense an easy out, because that's what it was. It was a 5-yard curl. The guy's open. You just bailed him out from your strength, which is your defensive line. So you can force a not pinpoint accurate throw if you're a bit tighter on them, right? Then all of a sudden you can get a deflection from your secondary. Jamin Davis can come up with a pick. Cole Holcomb can come up with a pick. I want to see a bit of a mix up there from Jack Del Rio, from Chris Harris, whomever is working with the secondary. I want to continue to see good play from Jamin Davis. I hope he gets to go against, I guess, Isaiah Pacheco is a name that's going around right now as a running back that can block, that can come out of the backfield. If he's going against him or Clyde, whomever is active for this game, I want to see a more dynamic running back challenge Jamin Davis, because Jamin Davis was primarily guarding whomever was coming out of the backfield. So if that continues, I want that running back to work him, and I want to see how Jamin responds to that. And then on the special teams, yeah, give it to Gibson. Let's see if he can return one. And let's see if we can fucking block, because we could not block at all on special teams on those kick returns.
Oh, shit. Forgot
those
about
were
that.
Horrible.
Oh, my God. Was that the worst special teams play I've seen in a minute?
No returner is going to have a shot with that level of blocking. So we need to clean that up.
Stop taking it out of the end zone.
Well, he took it out because I think he's trying to make the team.
Yeah,
I think Doc said so too.
Fucking stop. Jesus Christ, it was bad. Oh my God.
It was pretty bad. And then on offense, like you're saying, K-Dot, I want to see a game plan. I want to see Carson Wentz not target Amari Rodgers 8 times or 100 times or whatever it was. You have Dotson, you have McLaurin, you have Samuel. He targeted Amari Rodgers like 5 times in the first 2 drives. Look, good for him. Glad he caught it. That's awesome. Can we get it to our playmakers early? That's what I want to see. And then I'm curious to see what happens with Robinson, Gibson. We're going to see carries for both. I think we're going to see a more inspired Gibson. If we don't, not the end of the world, because I do have a lot of faith in Brian Robinson already as a guy that's going to push forward, that's going to fall forward for additional yardage as he goes down. And just ball security. Hopefully play clean, have no turnovers. Those are my thoughts for preseason week 2. Any other final thoughts, K-Dot?
I'm realizing how much I forgot about game 1 because Rodgers' name, which I completely forgot about until just now, was fucking awesome. And he was great. He was so great. So I was getting him confused with the other. There's another Amari Rodgers or something close to that name in the league.
Well, there's oh my gosh, I know exactly who you're talking about. It is
in Green Bay.
Yep. They drafted him in the 2nd round. He's a wide receiver, and it hasn't really worked out. Is he also Amari Rodgers? That can't be.
It might be. There's a similar name.
Do we have Armani Rodgers? Well, now I have to look it up.
There might be what the fuck is it? Amari is it Rodgers, like Aaron Rodgers and Rodgers, R-O-G? Let's
see. Okay, so there's Amari Rodgers. That was the guy we were referring to. Maybe it was Armani Rodgers. Hold on. Armani. Yeah, I think we were talking about Armani Rodgers. Yeah. We've been saying Amari Rodgers. Amari Rodgers is a wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Armani Rodgers was the tight end that kept catching it for us.
There we go.
That's what it was. So to amend my last comment, we didn't see any of Amari Rodgers in this game. He's in Green Bay. I would like to see a little bit less of Armani Rodgers featured in the passing game. But he did have a good game, to his credit.
He looked good. At least I do like the idea of Carson Wentz having a safety valve. I like it. I like the idea of there being a safety valve. Yeah. I just hope he doesn't use it too often. Let's get the ball down the field.
Preseason.
Like, just take some shots. But I also know Carson probably still upset about the Scott Abraham fucking whatever the fuck his name is interview. Just doesn't want to turn the ball over.
You know what? That is a smooth transition to our comment mailbag. Because the very first comment comes from Jimmy Lee Patterson. Thank you for the comment. And here it is. As much as Scott Abraham thought he was being cool and informal, he should be harassed relentlessly. He should take it as a lesson in professionalism. K-Dot, your reaction to that? I knew that put a smile on your face.
Look, we've discussed where it is dude fucked up, right? I think if he could do it over again, he chooses his words a little more carefully. But he could still get the same question out. It wasn't terrible. The concept of the question is not a terrible question. Carson has been asked this before.
Right.
Once again, the main criticism needs to be for the way that Jason Wright kind of reacted to this thing. And I'm watching, like, enough time has kind of go by. He's kind of skating through. But that is not something I'm forget when it comes to Jason Wright talking about potentially pulling a cloak over the organization again and not giving access to people in the local media rubs me the wrong way, and it's rubbing me the wrong way the further away we get away from it.
I think it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because I think that was his over the top moment, Jason Wright's over the top moment in reaction to Scott Abraham's maybe over the top moment. I think everyone's in agreement. The questions were fair, but just the way it was worded could have been better. Yeah. Simple as that. I think it's a minor misunderstanding. Talk it out. It didn't need to be blown up like this.
We don't need to be interrupting dudes' dinners, yelling at him. Watch what you say to Carson Wentz. Like, you calm it down. It's okay.
I know. Exactly. Just, don't start fires. Put them out. And then Jimmy Lee Patterson, one more time. Thank you for the comment. At 33-14 of the last video, he's referring to 500 that we were talking about. 500 is just catching the ball. One passer and a bunch of receivers, and you score by catching. The game K-Dot, is describing was called Smear the Queer. You throw the ball up, whoever caught it had to run and score touchdowns until he was tackled.
Yeah. So I remember that being the case. So when I was in elementary school, we used to play 500 where you would just catch the ball. That evolved into us thinking it was boring, so we just did something else. I do understand it's my vernacular in my friends group. We called it 500, but what we called it at Hardy, I think, was one man army.
One man. Okay, fair enough. So many different names for it.
I don't know if you're allowed to say the Q word. I don't know where
I've said it twice already. Just reading.
I know. I'm not saying it. Oh. It just doesn't feels very problematic.
I may need to learn to bleep stuff out. I'm not sure I know how to do that yet. So
it feels problematic. I'm just saying, especially the connotation. It feels problematic.
And then, oh boy, our boy Tony's back.
Tony!
Shout out Tony. Thank you as always for the comment, Tony. You guys are in my number one Commanders content creator team. Tony, before we read the rest of the comment, love you. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. Hey, we love you the most. Think about that as well. Great energy and balance, consummate professionals. Keep creating. Any live streams coming? K-Dot and I were talking about this a little bit. We think there will be some coming. It'll probably be reactions after the games on Sundays. Still a work in progress, but we got some things cooking up, Tony. I'm
still thinking we could do like an alternative fourth quarter broadcast in the sense of the way that you used to like. I remember there were some days, depending on who was doing the Fox game, you might turn on Redskins radio at the time and listen and try to cue it up.
To bleep that out too?
I just said the former name of the team. You actually said something that seems like it might be.
I was reading a comment.
Bashing.
Well, I guess. Where do we draw the line there, right? Like, it gets interesting.
If we said like skin the, I'm not gonna say it, but it's scalp the. No.
Okay, so you're talking about the fourth quarter broadcast. You're talking. Let's get back.
Okay, like fourth quarter.
You just said consummate professionals, and here we are.
I didn't say it. I stopped myself. So the idea, like, if you could watch the game, but then hear our commentary live as we're reacting the same way that you're reacting, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of different ideas, but we are 100% are having the conversation about live streaming, and we're trying to put that together.
Absolutely. His comment continues, though. Do we have any linebackers that we trust? I don't see one yet. I feel like a few years ago, we had too many to get playing time in preseason. Now we only have like 4. I know we run nickel 51% of the time, so we don't need as many anymore, but we don't have enough solid linebackers to stop a 3rd and 2 run. And that goes right to that Hubbard run we were talking about on 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, whatever it may be, where he did run right through. Cole Holcomb was put in a situation, now I feel like a proper analyst, where he had 2 different holes he had to cover. So he actually just hid behind, I want to say John Allen was like this and was like, Chuba's going to pick one and I'll just get him there. Like, and that's all he could do. Because if he picked one, well, he's gone the other way. And if he goes here, well, see you later that way. So, Tony, I think you're right. I want to say that I trust the stud Cole Holcomb, but we seem to differ there, K-Dot. Do you have any linebackers that you trust right now?
We only have 2 that count. And
do you trust either of them?
No. So it's not like the old. That's the other thing is I'm thinking about when's the last time I really trusted our linebacking core. We were running a 3-4 and we had Kerrigan on the outside some of those years, like maybe. But like when did I actually
remember when we had LeVar Arrington, Marcus Washington? That's probably the last time.
And Mike Wheelbarrow in the center. Yeah, but then what did that turn into? Jeremiah Trotter that year.
And then he went back to the Eagles and became Jeremiah Trotter again because it didn't quite work out here.
Middle linebacker has been an issue for a minute. Like people looking back, what are you looking back at the great days of Mason Foster? Like,
well, so you keep talking about Payne. You keep talking about Payne. Would you trade him knowing that there's a shot you're not re-signing him? He's a premium position. He's going to cost a pretty penny. Would you trade him and maybe a pick or something like that for a Roquan Smith? Because an extension for a middle linebacker, I was looking it up, would actually be cheaper technically than an extension for a defensive tackle.
Yeah, no, because you're committed to Payne. We need Payne now. Like my thing was that like, okay, you trade Payne if you keep Settler Ioannidis. But now we're in a position where
I agree with you. I just wanted to throw the question out.
No, I can't.
I
now,
agree
do I
with you.
want
I'm not
Roquan?
trading him.
Yes. Gibby. I'm sure.
No, that's a trade they will not take.
No, of course not. But do I want Roquan Smith on the team? Absolutely. I want somebody at the linebacker position where I can set it and forget it. I don't have to worry about it. Like, I know this guy's got it taken care of. And the last time that we've had that at the linebacker position, as far as like middle linebacker, is what? London?
Yeah, London Fletcher. Shout out. What a legend.
I mean, not yet. And if we're looking at like full linebacker position, you'd have to look at 3-4, and then you're technically Ryan Kerrigan's a linebacker, but not really. Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a set it and forget it at the linebacker position in a minute.
It's been a while.
There'll be some guys that have done better than I expected them to. I'm still a Will Compton fan, but I never expected him to be a
that's because you like his personality.
I loved Will Compton. Well, look, Stone Cold Steve Austin, my favorite goddamn wrestler, and him and Ryan used to always do that shit back and forth.
We got one more comment from Tony. Tony, shout out. Somebody get Tiki Barber here to teach AG how to hold the ball high and tight. I could not agree more. Remember when Tiki Barber started holding it like this?
Yeah.
And he literally didn't fumble that whole season? Yep. Maybe there was one. Not a bad idea. Would he be willing to help this franchise out? Who knows?
What else is he going to do? His shitty midday drive New York show?
I hope he was honestly still upset with New York for winning the Super Bowl the year after he retired. After all the great years he gave
Tiki
him.
Barber has been a little bitch for the last how many years? I really dislike Tiki Barber.
Where's that coming from?
I thoroughly dislike Tiki Barber.
You know what? Let's get to that after the pod. This was District Divided, a DC sports podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like it, please share it, please comment, subscribe. The works. We really appreciate you guys listening every Friday, 2 p.m. And until then, we will see you next week. Tiki Barber, go ahead. Floor is yours.
He's an asshole.
What makes him an asshole?
All right, so he leaves the team. He leaves the Giants when he leaves the Giants, right?
Right.
Kind of left them in a lurch. Was like, holy shit, you're just retiring out of nowhere. Why? Because he wanted to have
left them in a lurch. They had Brandon Jacobs.
That 1-2 combo. Everybody, you remember that is back in that like DVD era. This is the Duckett Dunn Vic era. This is the Thunder and Lightning is what you're supposed to have during that period, right? Brandon Jacobs ended up taking off, and he ended up being the bell cow, which I don't think anybody expected, at least initially. And then he turned like the scariest fucking running back in the division at one point.
Yeah, they had Derek Ward as well, and they had one other guy. Oh, Ahmad Bradshaw.
Yeah.
It worked out.
Hold on, I'm wondering, are we getting the times mixed up?
No, I don't think so.
Because we're talking about the first Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, if you're talking about DVD being TJ Duckett, work done, Mike Vick, yeah, it was a bit earlier, but I mean, it was just 2-3 years earlier.
I'm thinking about when he actually retired. Who took over?
I think it was Brandon Jacobs.
So 2006.
I think it was Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw were sort of the main two, and Derek Ward was sprinkled in there as a. Do you think we could do something like that with Brian Robinson Jr., Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick?
Yeah, it was Jacobs, Ward, and Reuben Drones. Drones was that dude.
It wasn't Reuben Drones.
Reuben Drones was, yeah, he was there too.
Yeah, but it was Ahmad Bradshaw that really, like, they took off with him.
Yeah, Ahmad was there, but he wasn't really contributing that first year.
When they won the Super Bowl, I don't think it was Reuben Drones.
No, in 07, it's Jacobs. Jacobs and Ward.
Ward.
Yeah, Jacobs, Ward. Reuben Drones was the third running back. Ahmad Bradshaw was there, but he wasn't contributing yet. Ahmad Bradshaw is a main contributor when they win the Super Bowl the second time.
I see. Okay, so I was getting my Super Bowls mixed up.
Yeah, it was Jacobs that took over.
Okay, but it was yeah. Because I remember they had a 1-2 punch at the very.
Yeah, end. it was Barber Jacobs because Barber had like, what was Barber's stats that fucking year? 1,600 yards and 5 touchdowns, and you had Jacobs with vulturing all the touchdowns. He had 9.
Hang on, no. I'm looking at the very first Super Bowl. Ahmad Bradshaw, Brandon Jacobs. There was no Derek Ward actually.
Huh?
Yeah, which one are you looking at?
February
3rd, 2008. February 3rd, 2008. I'm on the Wikipedia page.
For the Super Bowl itself? I'm looking at the season.
I'm looking at the Super Bowl.
season.
I'm looking at the Super Bowl. Ahmad Bradshaw, Brandon Jacobs. were the two guys that had carries, and Eli Manning 3 carries for 4 yards.
I was
Shout
talking
out
about the
Eli.
season. I'm not talking about the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I'm talking about the season, what it is that they contributed during the season. Because you had to get through the fucking season. I'm just wondering what did Tiki do when he left? It was supposed to be he was leaving it into the hands of Brandon Jacobs, who at that point had less yards per carry the season before, was morally looked at as a touchdown vulture. It was supposed to be the combination of Ward and Jacobs was going to take over for Tiki. It was him leaving them in a lurch, honestly. Nobody expected Jacobs, Ward, or Bradshaw to be able to take over and do what it is they did. Jacobs didn't show that. Jacobs showed that he was a touchdown vulture and a third down back more than anything, because Tiki was the bell cow.
Mm-hmm. No,
but whatever.
I agree.
Tiki leaves in the middle of his prime when they're supposed to be going upward, right? We got the young quarterback in Eli. We're going this way, right? He leaves because he wants to do this big broadcasting career. And what he goes to the Today Show is complaining about what he's doing on the Today Show. Before you know it, in like 2 months, he's doing like C-level Olympic coverage for NBC, which I thought was hilarious. Then in every opportunity, he does what every former athlete does not do, which is goes and bashes his fucking team. It wasn't that I'm just being the objective word. It's Eli Manning doesn't have it in him to be a leader of a locker room. Who the fuck says that to your former players that are just fucking playing? You don't do that. You don't do that. That's why Michael Strahan then came out in 2007 and trashed all over him. And what I find fucking hilarious is Michael Strahan not only stuck around and got a Super Bowl, he now has one of the best broadcasting careers of any former athlete ever. The motherfucker just went to space a few months ago, okay? While Tiki Barber was like jumping from when he left his like pregnant wife for some 20-year-old intern. And then
Did he do that?
He's a piece of shit.
Oh, God.
Tiki Barber's trash.
Barber.
And here's the thing, Rondé is awesome.
You know the thing I love about these after the pod segments is we legitimately have no idea where it's going to go. Like no clue. I think I had a totally different idea for how this is going to go. Here we are talking about Tiki Barber. Let's see.
Tiki, he's just so fucking fake. He's always been so fake. Then he tried to come back to the league and it was like, okay. Yeah, and then you know why here's why he couldn't, because he was unable to pay his divorce settlement with his ex-wife. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. After 11 years of marriage, ironically, gave birth to twin daughters. Some more twins. May 24th. Shout out. There you go. That's my birthday. How about it?
Yeah, you see, so on April 5th, 2010, while Shaw was 7 months pregnant with their twin daughters, it was announced at his labor came out, he'd been cheating with a 23-year-old Tracy Lynn Johnson, who he met while she was an NBC intern and worked in Today's Show.
Oh,
Johnson
no, she was the
babysat the fucking kids. Kiss my ass, Tiki.
Dude, this guy is the worst. Oh, you know who's actually the worst? You know who's actually the worst?
What?
Is
Darren Sharper? What's the limit?
Well, I guess in comparison, maybe not that bad. But have you seen Untold?
I haven't watched it. I'm going to watch it.
Oh, you have to. We need to talk about this because it was so good. I don't want to say anything now.
I saw the trailer for it. I do need to watch it. I will watch it. And I heard I really do want to see it because I remember that story. But once again, Tiki Barber, piece of shit.
Yeah,
so,
we're gonna.
But that's the thing. He's always been so fake and just like he wanted to be. I'm the perfect. I'm going to be on the Today Show. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. Not only do you have no Super Bowl, sir, no Hall of Fame in your future. You
hate this dude.
I don't like him. I do not like him. I don't like how fake he always had been.
You are laughing while you're listing things he's never gonna have.
Because also Rondé, your fucking twin, is the polar opposite and a great guy. Super Bowl winner, Hall of Fame, fucking writes children's books.
Are they good?
Yeah, I think they're pretty good.
Oh, you've read them?
No, I'm a fan of Rondé. Like I'm literally a fan of Rondé. But no, I remember when he was doing it was like books for African American kids mostly, because there's not a lot of books that were targeted necessarily for African American kids, and a lot of stories about him and Tiki's upbringing.
Okay.
Which
you know what? I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. and the
Rondé
twin
was just always
brothers in
there.
his stories were named Ricky and Tonde. Yeah, I remember.
There you go. So like, fuck. But that's Rondé was always like the consummate professional and never did anything wrong by anyone. Where Tiki just shat on everybody the entire way he went. But the thing, and I said it once, the thing I find most hilarious is that Michael Strahan has the career that Tiki Barber wanted so bad, and Michael never had to piss anybody off in the process of doing it. Everyone loves Michael Strahan.
Oh, Michael's got a phenomenal self-deprecating sense of humor too. I mean, whenever it comes to his teeth, for example. Oh my gosh. I mean, Strahan talks about the gap. It's so funny. Like, Michael is a very self-confident individual, and he comes across that way, and it's abundantly clear. He is brilliant for TV. I'm so glad that he's had the broadcasting career that he's had, that he's on, with Fox and stuff like that. It's been cool. It's been really, really cool to see some former players do really well like that.
Yep, and Tiki Barber's hosting Ultimate Beastmaster.
Okay, so things went the other way.
I never liked Tiki. And the thing was, I thought he was a hell of a running back when he got the fumbling thing under control.
Yeah, but it took him a while.
But yeah, Eli's not a leader. They're never gonna win anything. I'm just gonna go on and hang it out. And it's like, what? And after they win, they say, "Oh, I'm coming back. I want to be in the league again." Oh, it's because you got to pay your settlement. Nobody's signing it.
All right. Well, we got to rule. Watch Untold, because we're gonna talk about it. It's gonna be awesome. Oh my God! I gotta
admit, my priority is Prey. I'm watching Prey today. The Predator movie.
Who's that in the background?
My niece.
Oh, okay, cool. Shout out.
She doesn't like me.
No?
I'm starting not to like her, but she's one, so I don't know.
All right. On that note, we will see you guys next week. Take it easy.
Peace.